we will make sure about the fact that this clause is stated in the first type of clause and this clause is stated in the second type of clause. The adjective delicious in the clause stated in the second type of clause practices the role of the subjective complement with a trait as a descriptive word. There is a comparison. This meal seems like a masterpiece. An indicative word masterpiece consists of a phrase of the preposition like a masterpiece as an object of the preposition like. To describe the existence of the subject, this meal. So we set three words into a phrase of the preposition like. Then we can say that the three words are a phrase of an adverb. An adverb of the phrase of an adverb describes the subject. No, the phrase of the adverb describes the existence of the subject. That is the premise to indicate the subject this meal in this clause. To describe the existence of the subject this meal. The role of the because the adverb describes another descriptive word. The role of the subjective complement is practiced by a noun or a pronoun to define and indicate who or what the subject is, or an adjective to describe how the subject is. There are two ways to describe the subject. The first way is to define and indicate, and the second way is to describe. However, the phrase of a noun, a masterpiece, only reveals the direct correlation with the subject this meal through the mediation of the preposition like. A masterpiece is the object of the preposition like. The object of the preposition is not a subjective complement because the adverb is not a constituent. As we agreed in the initial part of the class, the subjective complement is a constituent, but the object of the preposition included in the phrase of the preposition has a trait as the adverb, the phrase of the adverb. So the phrase of the noun, a masterpiece, does not practice the role of the subjective complement by itself. After the speaker sets a subject with an indicative word, the speaker is able to constitute the third, fourth, and fifth type of clause for the subject to form a subject-object relationship from the definition of the transitive verb to describe the subject. From now on, we will study about the third, fourth, and fifth types of clauses with the transitive verb. The third type of clause is constituted with a subject, a transitive verb, and an object to get the definition of the transitive verb and finish the subject-object relationship. Or we can say the object completes the subject-object relationship. There's a clause, the birds welcome you. The subject, the birds, to start the condition indicated by the transitive verb welcome convey the condition to the object you. In this class, the definition of the transitive verb welcome starts from the subject, and the subject gives the definition of the transitive verb welcome to the object, the listeners, and the listeners receive the definition of the transitive verb welcome from the subject and complete the subject-object relationship. The object you complete the subject-object relationship so that the subject and object can go back, can return to the original state before the subject-object relationship initiates. The object you of the transitive verb welcome are conveyed. The condition indicated by the transitive verb welcome and finish the subject-object relationship with the subject. The condition that the subject-object relationship is finished means that the subject and the object exist in the original condition before the subject interact with the object. There is a conference stated from the perspective of the object in the first example. You are welcomed. The speaker in the passive voice states the clause with a consideration about the object you to get the condition indicated by the transitive verb welcome as the subject of the clause. In the relationship, in the subject-object relationship mediated by the transitive verb welcome, the subject and the object interact. The speaker states the first clause, the first example, from the perspective of the subject. In the first conference, the speaker states the clause from the perspective of the object. The past participle welcomed, which has the trait of the adjective, practices the role of the subjective complement to describe the condition of the subject you, as having a part of the object in the subject-object relationship. Because the fact that the listeners are described by a past participle means that the listeners are the object. So this clause is stated in the second type of clause. There is the second conference. You are welcomed by Jesus Christ. We calmly respond to the sentence of appreciation in this clause. You're welcomed, or you're welcome. So we can find the origin of the response in the love of Jesus Christ, who always welcomes us. The speaker signifies the conference is this: you're welcomed by Jesus Christ. The speaker signifies the subject of the transitive verb welcome as the object, Jesus Christ, of the preposition by, as a response to the clause of appreciation. I thank you. The speaker considers the listeners as the subject and the object, Jesus Christ, as a distinctive unit in a way that the speaker sees the clause from the perspective of the object in a relationship mediated by the transitive verb welcome. So we can think of the clause stated in the active voice of the speaker in this way. Jesus Christ welcomes you. So the speaker signifies the subject of the transitive verb welcome as the object of the preposition by.